Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
To everyone who hates when I win.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of happy.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Rachel Zegler is a PR nightmare.
There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion.
Forget poisoned apples. Disney's Snow White remake may have just taken the deadliest bite out of its own legacy. What was supposed to be a nostalgic revival of a beloved classic turned into a full-blown PR disaster. Complete with political firestorms, CGI chaos, and a lead actress who couldn't stop alienating half the country. With a bloated budget, missing dwarfs, and romance tossed out like yesterday's script notes, this isn't just a flop. It's a cautionary tale Hollywood won't soon forget.
Snow White bombs, breaks records for the lowest live-action remake opening.
This wasn't just a bad premiere. This was a cinematic funeral. The theater was so empty, even the popcorn machine looked embarrassed. The only people watching Snow White were the ones who made it. What was supposed to be Disney's shiny, progressive reimagining of a beloved fairy tale ended up as one of the biggest flops in studio history, and the warning signs were there from the start. The lead actress, Rachel Zegler, didn't just play the title role. She became the face of controversy. From dismissing the original love story to calling the prince a stalker, her interviews sparked backlash before the first trailer even dropped. Then came the political posts, Zegler telling Trump supporters to never know peace, alienating a huge chunk of Disney's audience. Add in the bizarre removal of the 7 dwarfs, replaced by CGI magical creatures, and fans were already side-eyeing the remake. Now, with the movie bombing at the box office and social media erupting in criticism, the question isn't just what went wrong. It's how did Disney get it this wrong? Because this wasn't just a film failing, it was a brand unraveling. And it all began with a fairy tale that forgot who it was for. As more interviews surfaced, things only got worse. Rachel Zegler doubled down, proudly stating that Snow White didn't need a prince and that the love story was outdated. What used to be a tale of romance and magic was now being reframed as a feminist manifesto, one that seemed to mock the very fans it was meant to attract. Even people who agreed with the message found the tone condescending. Critics began asking, was Zegler playing a role or lecturing the audience? Meanwhile, the backlash snowballed. Viral clips showed her laughing at the original film, calling it creepy and outdated, while dismissing the character she was supposed to bring to life. Then came the reshoots. Disney quietly spent millions trying to fix the film after early feedback went south. They removed iconic elements like "Someday My Prince Will Come" and replaced them with vague, modern songs no one could hum. It was like they were trying to scrub away every bit of what made Snow White timeless. Instead of celebrating a classic, they dismantled it, and fans noticed. This wasn't just about Zegler anymore. It was about a studio losing touch with its audience, one misstep at a time. Things really unraveled when old social media posts from Zegler resurfaced. Posts where she openly insulted Trump supporters, even wishing they would never know peace. Suddenly, this wasn't just a debate about a Disney remake. It became political. Families who might have otherwise ignored the controversy started paying attention, and not in a good way. Even people who didn't support Trump found her comments extreme. When you're the face of a family movie, alienating half the country is a bold and risky move. Critics on all sides began questioning Disney's judgment. Was this the person they wanted leading a $200 million reboot of one of their most iconic fairy tales? The answer seemed to be no. The backlash got so intense that Disney postponed the release by an entire year, reportedly due to Zegler's growing unpopularity. Internally, executives were panicking, even assigning media consultants to monitor her public behavior. But the damage was done. What should have been a feel-good reboot now felt like a cultural battleground. And with every new clip, every interview, Zegler seemed to dig the hole deeper. What began as a PR misstep quickly turned into a branding nightmare, one that no amount of fairy dust could fix. Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, two voices rarely aligned, both took aim at Disney's Snow White debacle, calling it a case study in what happens when storytelling gets sacrificed on the altar of political correctness. Rogan criticized the film for having no identity, saying it felt more like a social experiment than a fairy tale. He mocked the studio for spending $300 million on a movie that ended up with a 2.2 rating on IMDb, and compared it to Hollywood's growing habit of fearing backlash more than they value entertaining audiences. Bill Maher doubled down, pointing out the irony of calling the prince a stalker and removing the dwarfs in the name of progress, only to offend the very communities the film claimed to support. For Maher, it was classic overcorrection, where even good intentions turn into a mess. Both men agreed. Audiences don't go to Disney films to be lectured. They go to escape. And when that escape is replaced with vague messaging and moral finger-wagging, the magic disappears. Snow White didn't fail because it was updated. It failed because it forgot why people loved it in the first place. And that, according to both commentators, was the real tragedy here. By the time Snow White finally hit theaters, the writing was already on the wall. Critics weren't just skeptical, they were brutal. The film opened to a dismal 2.2 rating on IMDb, and the box office numbers were worse. Despite a budget reportedly north of $200 million, Snow White barely scraped together $43 million in its opening weekend. Fans called it lifeless, preachy, and awkwardly paced. Some walked out mid-screening, complaining it felt more like a lecture than a fairy tale. The signature romance was gone, the dwarfs replaced by random CGI magical creatures, and Zegler's performance left audiences cold. Even the musical numbers felt forced, with classic songs like Someday My Prince Will Come replaced by clunky feminist anthems that lacked the heart or charm of the original. Meanwhile, cultural critics like Joe Rogan and Bill Maher hammered the film, calling it a symptom of Hollywood's obsession with virtue signaling. They weren't alone. Audiences across the political spectrum agreed that Disney had gone too far. What should have been a nostalgic crowd-pleaser turned into a cautionary tale about what happens when studios forget who they're making movies for. And Rachel Zegler, once Hollywood's rising star, was now at the center of the industry's biggest misfire. As the Snow White disaster unfolded, rumors swirled about Disney's internal chaos. Insiders claimed executives were blindsided by how deeply Zegler's political comments had alienated audiences. The film had been delayed a year in hopes of smoothing over the controversy, but Zegler's continued outbursts only fueled the fire.
Her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Fans who had once been excited now saw her as a symbol of Hollywood's missteps. With the film's failure undeniable, Disney executives faced tough questions. Could they salvage the franchise with a different approach, or was Snow White doomed from the start? The stakes were high, not just for Zegler's career, but for Disney's future in an industry that was rapidly changing. In the end, Snow White's failure wasn't just a box office bomb, it was a wake-up call for Hollywood. Disney's attempt to modernize a timeless classic with heavy-handed political messaging and a divisive star backfired in spectacular fashion. Rachel Zegler, once hailed as the next big thing, became a symbol of Hollywood's miscalculations. The film's disastrous release and the backlash it sparked have left many questioning whether studios can continue to prioritize virtue signaling over storytelling. For Disney, the future of their live-action remakes is uncertain. If they hope to win back audiences, they'll need to remember the core of what made these fairy tales resonate: universal themes, heart, and magic, not political agendas.